Hello everybody, welcome to the video. My name is Script and today we're actually going to be continuing our episode 5, okay? So this is going to be part 5 of our series, okay? So in this series we are building a Logitech Lua script. Now if you don't know, right, if you have a Logitech gaming mouse or keyboard, right, you can utilize scripts and you can, which basically allows you to program different functionalities into those into your mouse or your keyboard. Okay, so this is what we do in this tutorial. This is part 5, so I recommend that if you're starting out here, I recommend that you go to part 1. Go to part 1, watch part 1, watch part 2, part 3. It should take you around 1 hour to 2 hours to finish all the tutorials, but it's better for you. This way you're gonna have a better understanding of where we are right now. Okay, so in this tutorial, we're going to talk about 2 different issues. First, we're going to talk about 2 problems that we have with this application so far. And then we're actually going to try to fix those problems so that you can actually have a very good application. So the first problem we're going to fix is the problem from episode 4, which is, if you don't remember, is that our numbers, right? So let me actually activate a gun real quick. I'm going to activate gun 1, which, just remember, gun 1, you guys, right, is equals to AKM. So gun 1 is over here. I press button 4 on my mouse, right? So I'm going to press 4 right there at the bottom, right? Let me actually just make sure gun 1 is actually, yeah. So gun 1 key is AKM. So when I press gun 1 key, then the current weapon is AKM. Let me just zoom in. Oh yeah, right. I'm gonna have to zoom in through the video for you guys. All right. So, I don't know what happened there. Let me do 4. Okay, very good. So let's do that. Now, before I continue, I do recommend you guys do something. Now, if you have a Logitech G502, your mouse is gonna automatically come with specific keys assigned to it. I recommend that you delete these side keys, because if you have these side keys here, you're gonna be pressing, like every single time you press this button, it's gonna be actually typing the number 8 while you're scripting, and that's really annoying, right? Because you're trying to debug something and then you're going to be pressing these buttons. So I recommend you actually disable all of these buttons over here, except of course primary and secondary click. I'm going to disable most of them. Yeah, it's all good now. All right, let's go back to the scripting. Okay, we're back here. Now, as you guys notice, I am actually scripting on the desktop profile, okay? You want to be scripting on a specific game, right? You don't want to be scripting on desktop. I have it on desktop because my desktop is set to persistent. So no matter what game I choose, it's always going to be on the desktop profile. Now, you, of course, you might want to have different profiles per game, okay? Anyway, so let's go back. Click right here on the scripting button. And now we're here. All right, so let's actually fix that problem. So again, gun 1, there you go. Gun 1 is AKM, which means we are now dealing with this recoil table right here. Okay, currently I don't have full mode on, which means my non-lock key is not on my keyboard, right? And again, if you don't have non-lock, you can usually change this to caps lock. Okay, there's no problem with that. Or you can actually delete it if you don't want it. If you delete this, you're gonna have to change the code a little bit, but I'll show you guys at the end. All right, so I'm gonna have it as non-lock. So my non-lock key is off on my keyboard. The light is off for my non-lock. And right now I'm using AKM. Now, because my non-lock is off, I know that I'm currently on the basic. Okay, I'm currently using basic mode, which means I'm using this recoil table. So I'm actually gonna activate it 4, and I press 4. There you go. And now if I start shooting, you guys can see that it's 6. You guys can see that the recoil, right, is going down, right? Now, you guys are gonna notice something very interesting here. The recoil is not going down the same amount as these numbers. It's not going down 30 pixels, right? That's not how it works. It's actually, these numbers are being thrown into an equation, right? Just like we saw in episode 4, we built it in episode 4 and 3 and 4. These numbers are being thrown into these equations right here. So if the recoil mode is basic, which right now it is, right? Then we're gonna get the recoil comp, which recoil comp is equal to the number. So for example, it's 30 right now. We get recoil comp, then we multiply it to recoil modes, which recoil modes is equal to the all recoil times divided by vertical van, cents, which is equal to 0.02, and then we times it to weapons basic time, which is 1. So in the end, we are left with 0.6. Now, of course, there's a problem with this. As we talked about in episode 4, 0.6 is a what? Is a fraction, right? Sorry, is a decimal value, is a float, right? And because it is a float, we would not actually be able to move 0.6. You cannot move 0.6 down, okay? So then what we did is we took this 0.6 value, we returned it, right? We returned it here, recoil comp, right? It becomes 0.06, we returned it here. And then what we did is we multiplied that by a few numbers to ensure that we actually have a positive value. So we over here, for example, we have 0.6 times 10, which becomes 6, right? And then we do plus math.random, which we added in episode 4.5, -1 or 0 or 1. So those are the only 3 options for math.random, right? Because that's the range that it takes. So, which means that math.random is going to create a random number between -1 and 1. Okay, so that it could be -1, it could be 0, it could be 1. So it's gonna so that means that this number over here, right? Judging that it is 30 initially, right? And then we go through all the entire equation, right? 0.6. That means that now this 6 over here, right, times 10, right? So 6 could actually be 5, could actually be 6, or could actually be 7 at any time. Okay, so it's random, and we can clearly see that. So sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 5 again, sometimes it's 6, and then after some time, right, it actually goes on to the next value. So after some time, it goes on to the next value in the recoil table, which is 50. We can clearly see that by these numbers over here, but they increase 10, 10, 10, 9, 10, 10, 11, and then it goes to 40. And there you go. Okay, so that's how this works. All right, now let me just actually get to the point. The problem with that is that we have to have this entire equation over here, like this equation here, and now we need to have an equation here too, just to in the end get like the random number. So it would be easier if we could actually either just get the values directly from the recoil table, or just have both equations, like this equation and that equation, together. This way we can just return the correct number. So what do I mean by that? Let's do the both solutions. So let's actually begin by doing the first solution, and you can pick which one you want. Okay, I'm gonna pick solution 1 first, which is a solution that we're gonna just take the values directly. Okay, which means we're not gonna throw these values into any equation. We're just gonna move the mouse down by 30, which is huge. It's a very big movement, but we can lower it later on. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna actually delete all of these, and we're just gonna do compensation. Okay, and we know that compensation right now, if I just do this, let me just output the compensation value. Right now, if I just, you guys can see that it's 0.06, 0.08, which means, you know, it's not gonna move at all because it's a zero number, right? It's negative, right? So that's a problem. So what are we gonna do instead? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna delete this equation completely, and we're just gonna do recoil comps equals to recoil comp, just for now. Actually, let's not delete it, let's comment it out. Let's comment it out. Okay, there you go. And now if we actually, as you guys already saw, if we activate it and we press our left click and right click together, it goes down like a lot, and you guys can see the value is 30 there. 30, 30, 30, then it goes to 50, then it goes to 40. You guys can see it right at the bottom. I know it's hard to see. I don't want to keep zooming in and out, so I'm just going to leave it like that. But you guys can see there's 30, 30, 50, 40, and things like that. Okay? So what we want to do in this case, if you do want this solution, you just need to remove, or if you want this solution, the first solution, then you're going to need to reduce these numbers, right? So from 30 to like 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, for example. Now let's try it out. Let's see if it works. There you go. So that's an easier solution, okay? So instead of having all those weird numbers and then having to calculate different things, you can just straight up throw like simple numbers such as one digit numbers such as 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, for example here, and it's gonna move based on those numbers. Now Of course, we need to add some randomizer to that, no matter what. Randomizer is very important. So what we can do is very simple. We can do random dot, the other way around, math dot random, and then we just get our lower number. So to get our lower number, we're gonna do compensation -1, and to get our higher number, we're gonna do compensation +1, which means that it's gonna generate a random value between compensation, right? Which in this case, the first one is gonna be 1. It's gonna be compensation -1, so the random value is gonna be between 0 and 2 for the first value over here. Okay, just an example. And we are getting an error because we forgot to complete the parentheses. Okay, let's check this out. Yep, there you go. So as you guys can see, very good. Okay, and it's working properly. Okay. What we need to do actually, we need to actually output that change. So let's actually output this change. There you go. Now we can see the actual numbers. So you guys can see that sometimes it's 0, so which means there's no movement, right? Sometimes it's 1, right? Things like that. If you want, there is a way to verify. Like for example, if the value is 0, then make it 1. But for now, we're just gonna leave it the way it is. Okay. All right. So now that's the first solution. Now let's go back. Let's see if I can press Ctrl Z a few times here. And let's go back to the second solution. So that was the first solution to this problem. I don't know if I can do. Okay, it's working. All right, so that's it's good. And there you go. Now we're back here. Now, again, I'm talking about solution to the problem of having those weird numbers and going through the equation and all of that. Second solution now is to have our entire equation in that function, in this function over here. Where is it? Which calculates recoil, right? And again, guys, just to clarify, I know this tutorial is a lot of talking and a lot of just finding different solutions to problems. But once you actually begin thinking the way you're supposed to think about these problems, you're gonna understand that there's several ways you can do something in coding. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to show you guys here. Because essentially, we are technically speaking almost done with this tutorial already, right? There's not a lot we can do from now on. So, all right, so let's get this value over here. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna change to compensation. Now I copied it, right? I copied the equation and I'm gonna throw it here somewhere. For now, I'm just gonna throw it here somewhere. So the second solution involves somehow embedding this equation into this function so that we return the correct number right away instead of having to have this equation down there, this function. So what we're gonna do is very simple. So over here we're gonna do recoil comp. At the end of this ifs, we're gonna do recoil comp equals to, copy that up, and compensation doesn't exist yet. Okay, it does not exist yet. So what we're gonna do instead of compensation, because compensation is what we return, is what we call it, the return. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do recoil comp, and that's it. Okay, that's the other solution to this problem. And now all we need to have down here is compensation, and compensation down here too. And that's the other solution to the problem. And now it works properly. And now it's a little more easier to understand down here. There's less code over here. It's quicker, right? So let me actually delete this comment. Okay. All right. So that's the second solution. So very good. We dealt with the with one problem. That is one problem. Now, another problem that many people were asking me on my Discord. Again, if you haven't joined my Discord, I really do recommend that you go ahead and join my Discord. You can go talk to me over there. If you're afraid of, I don't want to join my main account because people are gonna recognize me or whatever, then create a second account. Okay, it's not that complicated. Just create a second account. You can actually create a second account in Discord now. You can switch between accounts very easily. I just recommend that you do join my Discord server. You can even change your name there if you want, just so that you can easily ask me questions. Anyways, so now let's go back here to the tutorial. So again, talking about the second question, the second problem, many members tell me that they don't like to have to aim, right? They don't want to have to aim and then press left click to have this recoil compensation activated, and that's okay. You actually don't have to. It's very easy to take it out. And I believe I actually taught you guys this earlier, but I'm just going to teach it again because it has been asked several times over and over again. So what you need to do is over here, we have a conditional, which says if is mouse button press 3, okay, then, okay, do this in repeat. So as long as mouse button press is 3, which means that as long as my my right click is pressed, right, for as long as that's happening, then you're gonna be repeating this over and over again. So what does that repeat does? The repeat checks if mouse button press is equals to 1, mouse button press 1 is pressed. So left click is pressed. If it is pressed, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna be doing this. We're gonna be repeating this, which is actually the recoil. So all we need to do, we just need to delete the top part, because the top part is what takes care of the right click. Right click is how you aim. So let's take it out. Let's bring this back a little bit now, so that's a little easier for you to see what's going on. Give me a second. Okay, and okay. Now, right now, if I press Ctrl S, we're gonna get an error. And let's actually talk about this error for a little bit. This error says syntax error. So it's an error involving the syntax. Okay, syntax is basically how you is how the language goes, the programming language goes. Is the rules of the language, is how you need to write something in coding for the program to understand. Over here it says syntax error, line 147, and clearly we see this and over here. Okay, now this specific and over here is not the problem. The problem is what's after this and over here. Okay, so what we're gonna need to do is very simple. So over here we have this if, and it's not, it has a loop repeat, and then here's the end of this loop, and then over here we have an and. This and takes care of this conditional. Now at the bottom over here we had the end of the loop for the other conditional that we took out, that checks if right click is pressed. So we're gonna delete this. And then here we have something else. We have another end, and this other end was actually the end of the conditional that we took out for the right click. So we're gonna take that out too, and we're gonna press Ctrl S, see if there's any more errors, and that's it. There's no more errors, and we're good to go. Now let's see if this works. So now if I activate, right now current weapons equals to none. I'm gonna press, let's see, another key, 5. So I'm gonna press 5. 5, I should believe is aim for 16. Let me press 5. There you go. And now if I just press left click, it goes. Okay, it works. Now let's actually fix another problem, which is the third problem, which we didn't talk about immediately. Now before I do anything, let me just deactivate. So to deactivate my guns, I have the set off key, which is 6. So let me do that. There you go. Okay, so I press 6 on my mouse, and there you go. Now real quick, if you don't have this many mouse buttons, so like I have the Logitech 502, G502, sorry, which it has a lot of keys. Like I have 11 keys in total. So if you have like the G402, for example, which has only, I think, 4 side keys or 3 side keys, then you're gonna have less options. Just keep that in mind of keys you can possibly utilize. Remember, when I'm talking about keys, I'm talking about mouse keys, not keyboard keys, mouse keys. Okay, to make this work with keyboard keys, we're gonna make another tutorial. It's gonna be part 6, and I'm gonna explain to you guys how to make this work with keyboard keys. It's actually very easy. Anyways, and by keyboard keys I mean Logitech keyboard keys, the G keys. Cool. So sorry, so let's continue to the problem, which is real quick, the third problem that people are talking about, which is how to create another gun. I actually taught you guys this before, so it's very important. That's why it's very important for people to actually watch the videos, because I taught you how to do this, and I understand that it's too many videos to remember, but I'm just gonna go quickly through it again. To create another one, you kind of just have to follow this template. So you do recoil, oops, can't see anything, recoil table, the name of the gun, so I'm gonna say UMP, close it off, equals to, okay. For you guys that are in Python, I know many of you guys that watch my videos like Python. This is very similar to a dictionary, so treat it like a dictionary. It's actually called a table in Lua, but just treat it like a dictionary. And this over here is like an array, but use the same thing, use the same, it's not a bracket, it's a, forgot the name of it. Anyways, 60, oops, not 60, that's too high of a value. 4, let's do, actually it's UMP, right? So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay, and then we do comma, full, and then for full we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do Full mode means you're fully equipped. So I'm going to do 0, 1, 0, 2. That's good enough. I'm going to do speed equals to 100. All right, so here's what we have. So we have full, we have speed, okay, and we have comma in every single one of them here, and that's it. So now we already have a new gun. Now that doesn't mean you can use it. So we have a new gun called recoil table UMP, right? So we have a new UMP table, right? And it has basic, full, and speed, but we cannot use it yet because we did not create a gun key to activate it. So let's do that right now. Let's do local gun 4 key, or let's actually name it UMP key. And let's do let's see what I can use here on my keyboard, on my mouse. 8. Let's do 8. All right. And now what we need to do is we created a top here. Now we need to create it on the function that takes care of it, which is the keybinds function. So we're gonna do another else if. Yep, right here. Else if arg equals to UMP key, then the current weapon is equals to UMP. That's correct. Let's press Ctrl S to make sure everything's okay. It is okay, and now we should be able to, when we press 8, we should be able to, yeah, current weapon UMP, and we should be able to actually move using those values. Okay, there you go. All right, now you guys can clearly see a problem here, and you guys can see that it has some dashes in the middle here. Those dashes actually indicate that those numbers are negative. So over here we have 0, -1, 0, 1, 0, -1. So it's actually going up and down. So that means no movement. So how are we gonna do with this? Well, we know that in game, realistically speaking, you usually will not have to drag your mouse up. That happens very rarely. You don't want to do that usually. You want the compensation to move your mouse downwards, not upwards. Okay, because recoil goes up, so you want to compensate it by going down. Okay. Anyway, so how do we do this? Well, compensation is the return of the recoil value function, right? And it actually has all values. It has the value that we're moving by. So what we need to do is we do if compensation is less than 1, okay, then we can do compensation equals to 1, and there you go. So at any time, let me actually just, there you go. At any time, if compensation is less than 1, then it's gonna be 1, just straight up 1. Okay, that's good, but that's also bad. And let me explain to you guys why that's bad. Because in this case, let me just wait and see something. That's interesting. We are not actually... Did I do something wrong here? Let me just think about this for a second, because I think we're not actually moving away from the 1s. We're staying at the 1s for a long time. We should be... Alright, I understand why. So the reason why it's only 1 is because throughout the whole time is because we have the second solution. Remember, we implemented the second solution in the beginning of the video instead of the first. So if you actually calculate this, you're gonna understand why it's always gonna be 1, right? So basically what this does is gonna get recoil comp, right? So it's, for example, right now the value is gonna be 1, for example, right? So 1. So for example, let's say we're going to the MP. Let's say we're using the value of 1. So if we actually follow this equation over here, we're gonna do 1 times 0.02 times 1, okay, which in the end is gonna be 0.02. So 1 times 0.02 is 0.02 times 1 is 0.02. Okay, it's the same value. So this is 0.02. The problem with that now is if we do this equation, which we get 0.02 times 10 plus math.random, plus a random number between -1 and 1. Okay, so it could be 3 values, so not random number such as any of these 3 values. That means that our value of 0.02 is going to be 0.2, right, at this point right here. Then it's going to be added to either -1, 0, or 1. Okay, so 0.2 plus -1. Okay, that clearly is a negative number, so that means that over here, because it is a negative number, it's always going to be 1. Okay, Then over here we could also be 0.2 plus what? Plus 0, which of course would be the same thing. And then over here we also have 0.2 plus, where is it? Plus 1, that's another possibility. And that's of course going to be 1.2. Okay, so in any of these cases, the value is always going to be 1. So that's the problem with this solution. And that's why this is not the best solution, this over here, right? Which we did in the beginning of the video. The best solution is for you to actually just straight up have the raw values, just like that. And then just have the raw value, and all you need to do here is maybe add a little randomization. Okay, so we do math.random recoil comp -1, recoil comp +1. This is the best solution for this kind of problem, because now it's just gonna take the raw value. So it's gonna take 1, it's gonna do a little randomization to it, and it's gonna just throw it in there. Okay, if you don't remember what we're talking about right now, I know it's because we have to kind of mix up stuff, kind of go in the middle, go backwards, go front. It is how developing kind of is with Lua, a little bit. Actually, any language. You know, you're doing something somewhere and then you remember that you need to go back. It's how it is, so you need to get used to that. But essentially what we're talking about here is the first problem that we fix. Okay, that's what we're talking about right now. So let me actually go now to the MP, see if it's working. Oop, there you go. It is. It's working just fine. It has a little randomization into it. It's very good. Okay, now essentially when you're actually coding, when you're actually playing your game, you do want to take this out. When you are debugging, you do want to take the output log message out, because outputting a message to the screen takes some processing. Okay, you don't want, like, anything that you want to be fast, you don't want it to be outputting a message to the screen very quickly. Okay, so you do want to take that out, and now we have, let me actually go to, there you go. Now we have this. Okay, so it's not outputting anything to the screen. It's very straightforward, very good, and there you go. Okay, again, for this solution over here, which we implemented, this solution over here, you do want to you don't want to have values such as 60, because that means that, let me just show you guys, that means your mouse is gonna go down very quickly. So you want to change it to more to smaller values. Okay, so like that's okay, the 8 is okay, the 9 is okay, because of course in PUBG, for example, the recoil always goes up as time goes on. Okay, 5. Let's go back to 4 and let's hit 5 again. Over here we can just do 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. Actually, AKM is bigger than that. Let's do 6, 6, 7, 7, and 8. And of course here you can do whatever you want. So you can keep changing stuff. Just make sure now, remember that we're taking raw values. So we're taking the values of here, just doing a little randomization to it, and then boom, using it. So let's actually try using the AKM. This is M416, that's AKM. Very good. It's very similar to how the AKM actually is in game. M416, good. SCAR, good. And UMP, nice. There you go. Alright. And of course, you can go and use this in game now. You know, there's a little randomization. You do want to add more randomization essentially, because what this essentially is doing is, yes, there is randomization into the compensation value, like there is randomization into the actual movement, how much it's moving, but there's no randomization into how frequent it's doing it. Right? So if they have a very strong pattern detection, they're gonna notice that you moving your mouse every 30 milliseconds. Okay, there's a movement every 30 milliseconds, which humanly speaking, it's not something that we do. You don't move your mouse a specific amount every specific amount of milliseconds. Okay, your mouse is, when you are controlling recoil as a human, your mouse is kind of just moving constantly. Okay, yes, you may stop for a few milliseconds, but it's very constant. So let's do random. Oops, I'll do around math.random. Let's do like between 20 and 30. Okay, and let's see how this gives now. Nice. There you go. So a little randomization to the movement. You can even make it more rougher randomization. Okay, there you go. That's better. Also, when you're moving, you do want a little more randomization to the X and Y, because we don't move our mouse like straight up like this. You see how I'm moving my mouse down? It's me. I move go a little bit to the side, right? So you do want a little randomization into the X and Y. Okay, there you go. And now, yeah, so a little bit of randomization there, right? So let's see if we can actually notice any difference between my movement and the script. Very little difference, right? So let me actually do it again. That's the script, and that's me moving down now. So see, I move a little bit to the sides. Very good. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's this video. It was a long video, and I know that I kind of went back and forth, but you know, when you're coding anything, it's not gonna just be a straight shot, right? Unless you're like the best coder in the world, and even if you are the best coder in the world, you do want to go back and debug stuff. So it's very important for you to debug. It's very important for you to understand different things, and now you know how to do several different things. You know how to create a recoil table. You know how to add different guns. You know how to essentially do everything here because we built this together. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a good time, and if you have any questions, you can go to my Discord channel, my Discord server, and ask me questions in the chat or in the questions chat. Okay, thank you very much, and